Because you asked for it.
Okay, so there are many forms of psychological manipulation, and the most popular form of manipulation that's used by the leftists in general, particularly the Democrats, is that of gaslighting. And so last night, we had the last day of the Democratic National Convention, where Kamala Harris accepted the nomination for the presidency of the United States, and it was a masterclass in gaslighting. So I think a lot of people, when they hear that term gaslighting, they don't really know what it is, or they're confused about what that term means. So let's take a quick second to talk about what that term means, to gaslight someone. The term actually comes from a movie called Gaslight, starring Ingrid Bergman. And that movie is about a woman married to a man who only married her because he wanted something valuable from her. So back in the days before electricity, houses were warmed and lit with gas. And so whenever someone turned on a gas light in a certain part of the house, the light in your room would go down. It would, diminish a little bit because there's only so much gas in the house. So what this gentleman was doing is whenever he left the house, ostensibly for other purposes, to do business or whatever, what he was really doing was going to the attic to look for that valuable item. And when he turned on the light in the attic, the light in the wife's room would go down. So she knew somebody was in the house. But when she told her husband about someone else being in the house, he told her, no, it's just your imagination. The light did not really go down. So in effect, he was trying to convince his wife that she was going crazy. And that's what the theme about this entire movie was convincing the wife that she was going crazy and that she should not believe her lying eyes. Ever hear the term, stop believing your lying eyes? And that is, in effect, the entire Democratic platform. They can't run on their record. They can't run on what they actually believe. So they have to tell you lies. They have to deceive you. So in today's video, I want to look at a few clips from last night's speech to kind of set the record straight. Now, I know my channel is primarily an economics channel and a passive income channel, but I want to play my part in setting the record straight because, this is very dangerous stuff. This person could actually end up being president of the United States. Because this whole business of gaslighting, this has been perfected by the left. And a lot of low IQ, low information voters fall for this stuff. So I wanted to play my little role in setting the record straight because there were flat out lies being peddled last night. So let's take a look at a few of the clips from last night's speech.
Growing up, we moved a lot. I will always remember that big Mayflower truck packed with all our belongings, ready to go to Illinois, to Wisconsin, and wherever our parents' jobs took us.
Okay, so I noticed that she left out of 5 very important years that she spent in Canada. Ms. Harris did indeed move to Montreal as a 12-year-old with her sister in 1976. And then she spent the next 5 years shuttling between, Quebec's largest city and in California. Okay, listen, that's nothing to be embarrassed about, but just so, okay, so those 5 years from 12 years old to 17, those are very formative years. That's all of what, junior high and high school, right? Look, I think it's fine, but for some reason she doesn't seem to want you to know about it. She washes right over it. I think it's all part of her creating this identity that she desperately needs to have. She needs to, she needs to improve her bona fides as a Black person. I mean, her mom, and she spent so many times quoting, in the speech, was the Indian half, right? And her dad, he wasn't African American, he was Jamaican. So he's African Jamaican. And then she talked about all these, the Black musicians that were always playing in the household, Miles Davis and Ella Fitzgerald. I don't know, I find it a little incredulous. You're telling me that an Indian woman and a Jamaican man, their favorite music is going to be Miles Davis. I don't know, maybe, but the thing is, it's important for her to paint the picture for the audience, right? This is about, triangulation, and this is about strategy. So I don't know, it just seems a little disingenuous. And it just smacks of a woman who will say anything that she needs to say in order to get what she wants. Whatever. A minor detail, but I just thought I'd point that out.
Because I believe everyone has a right to safety, to dignity, and to justice.
Really? Safety? Okay, so this is the woman who, after the George Floyd riots, put together a fund and contributed to a fund that would pay for the bails of these rioters who wreaked all sorts of havoc, in Minneapolis. So, she is our country's original progressive DA. She's the original Soros aggressive DA, and she was instrumental in destroying San Francisco. She laughed about how she put so many black men in prison for smoking marijuana, and then when she was asked about smoking marijuana, she laughed about it. Again, she's trying to paint herself as tough on crime when she is pro, criminal. She's not pro-victim, she's pro-criminal, but she's trying to whitewash her record as a tough law enforcement person.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward.
Yeah, so this is a woman who's part of an administration who was behind a politically motivated trial against her adversary. This is their idea of moving forward. Just unbelievable hypocrisy here. That's flat out gaslighting, my friends.
I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings.
Okay, so this is the woman who single-handedly promoted the cartels over the past 3.5 years. The cartels have made more money off of drug trafficking and sex trafficking than they've ever had before. They control our border. So we're supposed to believe that she's tough on the cartels?
Who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities.
Okay, does anybody buy that?
And I will tell you, these fights were not easy. And neither were the elections that put me in those offices. We were underestimated at practically every turn.
Okay, this woman was not elected to anything. California is a democratic machine. She was installed. She did not have to run for election of anything. And in the election that she did win, she won by the skin of her teeth. There is no democracy in California. California is a one-party state. The way you get into office is by making the right friends, whether it's on your knees or otherwise, to get selected for posts. That's it.
In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election.
Okay, first of all, the chaos while he was in office was created by her and her progressive friends who did everything they could, including coming up with a fake Russian dossier in order to impede his agenda. The chaos was all created by them.
Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes when he...
Throw away their votes. Okay, so here's a woman standing in front of a crowd who never won any primaries. She did not get one single vote. She did not win one single primary. She was selected. So she's talking about votes being denied. Every delegate in that audience had their votes denied. This is what you call gaslighting.
Failed. He sent an armed mob to the United
Armed? Really? This mob was armed now? That mob, as she calls it, was not armed.
States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers.
Lie. They did not assault any law enforcement officers. Law enforcement officers were giving them tours of the place.
When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And
days before the inauguration, he offered the National Guard to Nancy Pelosi. She and the mayor of D.C. turned down the offer. Nancy Pelosi did not want the National Guards when Trump offered it to them. Again, gaslighting.
Now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans.
They were not everyday Americans. They were all liberals from a liberal city. The charges were made up. No other person was ever charged with the crimes that he was charged with. They were made up crimes. This was a politically motivated trial. Gaslighting.
And separately found liable for committing sexual abuse. And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers.
Okay, so the people they have in prison over the January 6th event, a lot of these people are grandmothers, people with diseases. These are older people. These are freedom-loving Americans, and they were not armed. They were not violent.
At the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy.
That's a lie. If he wanted to do that, he could have done that before. Remember, he was president for 4 years. He never made any effort to do any of that. Gaslighting.
His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens.
Lie. Oh, my God.
Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution.
Well, for one thing, you should thank God that the Supreme Court, made that decision, because, when you're in office, you're going to enjoy that exact same protection. That protection does not allow him to do anything he wants. Okay, this woman is either really stupid or she's intentionally gaslighting you.
And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past, forward.
Okay, so he has nothing to do with the Project 2025. And if there are some people on that Project 2025 who used to work for Trump, they used to work for Trump. Okay, they're not employees of his now. He has distanced himself from that Project 2025 project. But again, gaslighting.
To a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Well, you've been in office for 3.5 years. So why is the middle class in such dire straits? You are the one. Why are you waiting? Why waiting till day one? Do it now. You're in office. Take Joe to lunch, put something in his drink, and convince him to do whatever you want to do now. What are you waiting for?
And she expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available to us. and to be grateful for them. Because, as she taught us, opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create what I call an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance to succeed.
Well, newsflash, Ms. Harris, you live in the United States of America. Everybody has the exact same opportunities right now. What do you mean you're going to create opportunity, whatever it is? What the hell does that mean? Every single American right now has the exact same opportunity as everyone else. That's the greatness of America. It always has been, which is other than what you want to do. You want to keep other people, under your thumb. You are a race baiter and you are a professional victim. You have made a career out of being a professional victim.
And as president, I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American.
Really? You're going to bring together entrepreneurs and small business owners? You are the people who shut down small businesses during that worldwide flu that we had. You forced small businesses out of business.
Companies to create jobs, to grow our economy, and to lower the cost of everyday needs like health care and housing and groceries. We will provide access to capital for small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders. And we will end America's housing shortage.
Okay, so she wants to end America's housing shortage while she's bringing in tens of millions of illegal immigrants. Okay, and their printer press policy of printing currency that causes inflation. Okay, she's either really really stupid, or she is just flat out gaslighting. Besides which, you're in office right now. What are you waiting for? If you want to do all those things you just mentioned, do it.
Now compare that to Donald Trump, because I think everyone here knows he doesn't actually fight for the middle class. He doesn't actually fight for the middle class.
The middle class did better under Donald Trump than they have done in decades. So people do want to go back to those years. You say nobody wants to go back, everyone just wants to go forward. I got news for you. Most Americans do want to go back. They want to go back to that period under Donald Trump because they were prosperous.
Instead, he fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt.
Tell them about your $7 trillion economic package that you have on the table right now, Kamala. Tell people about the $90 trillion, eco package you have together with AOC. Talk about that.
And all the while, he intends to enact what in effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax.
That is a lie.
That would raise prices on middle-class families by almost $4,000 a year.
Made up number?
Well, instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans.
All taxes under Harris will go up dramatically. Everybody's.
In this election, many other fundamental freedoms are at stake. The freedom to live safe from gun violence in our schools, communities, and places of worship. The freedom to love who you love openly.
You have the freedom to love whoever you want right now.
Openly and with pride. The freedom to breathe clean air and drink.
Okay, clean air and water. Water and air has never been cleaner in the history of mankind.
Clean water and live free from the pollution that fuels the climate crisis.
Oops.
And the freedom that unlocks all the others, the freedom to vote.
Everybody has the freedom to vote right now if you're a legal American. She wants to allow illegal immigrants to vote, which will rob you of your votes. Every illegal vote that is cast, steals, one legitimate vote.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
This is a big one, okay? That border security bill that she's talking about, that bipartisan border security bill, it did not address illegal immigration at all. In fact, what it did is it codified into law, giving billions of dollars to NGOs to fund money to these illegal immigrants. It funded billions of dollars to foreign countries to facilitate their illegal immigration. And they had a little bit of a speed bump saying, well, if immigration gets above 2,500 per day for 7 days in a row, then we'll close the border for a few days. That's it. So the gaslighting here is off the charts. They're not telling you the truth. They're lying to you. Okay, so to end this video, let me show you a clip of some delegates at the convention, inside the convention hall, being asked what their favorite Kamala Harris policies are.
What's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
That's a hard one.
What's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
Her being president.
That's your favorite policy position?
Oh, yeah.
How so?
Because it covers everything that she defends.
I'm really excited for her to restore reproductive rights across America.
How do you think she'll go about doing that?
I don't know.
What a fun question.
I don't know. I'm picking and choosing. I mean, I really like most of them.
So you have to look at it broadly, right? It's about what she stands for right now.
What's your favorite of Kamala's policies?
I'm trying to think. Well, actually, more of like what Waltz comes in.
All of her policies, everything from I'm non-binary, and so all of the policies for basic human rights to have our own bodies and do with them as we please,
Her willingness to move forward on affordable health care.
How do you think she'll do that as president?
I think she'll work to motivate the legislature to vote in favor of it.
As her as a person, just tops out any policy.
Copy that.